Okay, I'm back with part 2 of our tour of the edible ink printer, which is currently driving me crazy because it's telling me that it's offline, even though we've got this little blue light that shows that it is picking up the wireless signal from my printer, but it's not printing and it's telling me that it's offline. So I'll go through error messages and that kind of thing, but I'm going to go ahead and do the, show you how to do the printing. So when you turn this on, it's just like a regular printer. You've put the cartridges in, they're inside like we talked about, and you set this up just like a normal printer. Wafer paper, let's see. Wafer paper is A4 international size, so if it asks you what size paper, then you need to do that, because if you put in a piece of paper that's too big, it's going to tell you that it's not going to print. But there are different grades of wafer paper, and like I bought these from 2 different suppliers, and they're different sizes. See, it's fine down here. It's just this one is a little bit wider and larger. So this might be, I would think that it's closer to a letter size, but it's longer than a letter size. It doesn't make any sense. But it still fits when I put in, when the printer wants to know what size paper you're using, it will still do A4. So this works just like a regular printer. You put the paper in, you slide this little tray in and out, tell it where to hold it, and that will tell the printer what size paper you're using too. So you click that in, and right here, let me get closer. See, it says what size paper you're using. If you leave it alone, it'll go away, but it says page size A4, that's the international size, and type is matte, M-A-T-T-E, which means without a shine, because you don't have shiny printer paper. So we're not printing on photo paper, we're just using regular printer. So I've got this set for a matte photo paper and standard quality printing. When it asks you when you're printing with your computer, when you set it up, it's going to have those questions like what quality do you want? For wafer paper, use standard. For icing sheets, you might need to use photo quality. So you're going to have to experiment with that. I did a print for a friend who needed a print, and I had to do it photo quality for the icing sheets, because with the standard quality, which is good for wafer paper, icing sheets come out kind of streaky. So if you have a print on an icing sheet that doesn't look right, try a different quality print. It might need a photo print. But like I said, I don't use icing sheets too much. Maybe I didn't say that, I don't know. I don't use icing sheets too much. So I pretty much stick with the wafer paper because I've got that figured out. And I don't want to deal with icing sheets. Okay, so but when you're setting all this up, let's see, you'll have the bar set up. This is a Canon MG6620. I had an MG5520 and it worked pretty much the same way. This has a fancy little touch screen. So when you're setting it up, they'll have the maintenance button. If one of the colors stops working or something like that, let me get in closer. If one of the colors stops working, then you would go to the maintenance thing and do a deep clean. I'm going to go through that later. You want to go to device settings, and the LAN settings is your wireless. You want to go to print settings first and set prevent paper abrasion on. And that'll keep the paper going through cleanly. And it'll also, which is kind of nice, it'll give you kind of a little extra chance to change your mind. Like before they start a new print, it sends you a message on your computer that says prevent paper abrasion is on, do you want to continue, and you press yes. So it's not to just keep printing things, it's going to give you a chance to stop if you don't want to do that print. Okay, so I'm going to print just a little test pattern. With the wafer paper in this particular printer, every printer is different, so you're going to have to go through your printer manual. I print on the flat kind of shiny side. There's a rough side and a shiny side. I print on the shiny side, so the printing side goes down. So I put that in there, just push it forward until it stops. And I've got my computer over here on the left. Let's see if it will let me print now, because before it was telling me that the computer was offline, which was a lie. So I'm just telling it to print like a normal picture would be printed. All right, let's see. If this tells me it's offline, I swear I'm going to smash this stupid printer. It says the printer's offline. I'm going to kill somebody. Okay, so first thing you do, turn it off. Because when a printer has a problem, a lot of times just turning it off and then turning it back on will work. So let it sit for a few seconds, then turn it back on. And I found that sometimes you have to turn the computer on before the printer, and sometimes you have to turn the printer on before you turn the computer on, or else they won't talk to each other the right way. I can't figure that out. So it just, sometimes it'll give you a message that you know is completely wrong because it's telling me it's offline, but this little light is on that shows that it is not offline. It's picking up the signal just fine. All right, so I'm going to cancel that print. And I'm going to try it again. And we'll see what happens. Print. Okay, it's not telling me that the computer's offline, and this says it is processing, so it is talking to the printer correctly. And I don't have to smash it with a hammer, so that's good. Okay, so this says processing. When this says processing, you need to look on your computer. Let me see if I can get this on the camera. On the screen, it says prevent paper abrasion is set, and it just gives you OK or cancel. And I'm going to press OK. And it should start printing. There it goes. Okay, now I've just made this little test pattern, which is the 4 colors, which would be cyan, which is blue, yellow, black, and magenta. And the reason I did that is because there were a couple times when I was trying to do a head cleaning and a deep cleaning of the machine, and it gets to the point where it says, do you want to print a test pattern? And I put yes, and then it says, the paper size that you put in there does not match the print quality set, or something like that. It says that the paper I put in doesn't match what the printer thinks should be in there, and so it won't print a test pattern. So I just went through and took, I used in Word, Microsoft Paint, I made 4 little streaks of the 4 colors. And I just keep that in case I need to print a test pattern, because then I can see if everything's printing okay, or if something isn't printing, it'll show me. And I don't have to worry about the computer telling me that the paper isn't the right size when I know it is. Alright, so this shows me that all 4 colors are printing fine, and that's basically it. So it's very simple. It's not very simple. If you don't need one of these printers, don't get one. It's not something that everybody needs. You can always have somebody else do the printing for you. I sell custom prints. You can go to the grocery store. Sometimes they'll do it for you. I know that some of the local stores around here will sell you the prints. So if you don't need one of these, just save your time and don't get one. Okay, now let me see. Let me get closer in here. Is that focusing? Yes, okay. If you're going to connect this, I didn't go through and show you how to connect this. I have this connected to my computer wirelessly. And to do that, you go to the wireless setup and just click on that. Click on wireless LAN setup. And it looks for the access point, which is your router. And when you press start setup, that will start the thing where you press the button on the router and it sends a signal and then the printer picks up the signal. I have never been able to get that to work. It always says that it picks up the signal and then it doesn't connect or whatever, so I don't even waste my time. I go to other connection methods, standard setup, then it looks for the router, you tell it which internet to connect to. We call ours, don't steal my internet. That's the name of our network. And then so you choose the network that you want to connect to and you put your password in manually. If you don't know where your password is, it's on your router usually, somewhere. And then you enter that and it connects wirelessly. So I know I'm already connected. I'm not going to mess with that because, you saw what happened the last time. I didn't have to smash it with a hammer, but that's good. Now, I'll show you with this other piece of paper. This, I said this way for paper was a little bit, oh, I'm going the wrong way. This way for paper was a little bit, and I just pulled this tray out a little bit wider. So see, if I try to stick that in, it's not going to fit, so you have to open this up. So just, go in and see what size wafer paper you have. It doesn't matter. This is still going to print using the A4. If you tell the computer that it's A4 size, it will still, see it's saying A4 is registered, it takes it. Even though it's a little bit longer and a little bit wider, it will still print with the A4. The other error messages that you might get, let me back out here. let's see, you might get, I was getting this before, printer door is open. Oh, I put these up here, let me see. I have no idea what this even means. I just copied this out because I was in the middle of printing and it wouldn't print because it says door open. There is no door that was open that shouldn't have been open. So this, I'm thinking this door, that's supposed to be open. There's one on the very back of the computer. If you get a paper jam, sometimes you have to turn the whole thing over and there's a door that flips open and you can pull the paper out. But I've only had to do that once or twice in a year and a half. So that's unusual. That door is closed. There's no door that's open. But if you get this message, it's kind of like the blue screen of death. Nothing is going to work on your computer until it decides that the doors are all closed. So if that happens, same thing. Turn it on, turn it off. Sometimes if you close everything up and open it, and then you open this, and then you close it, just close and open everything, and that might help. Because that's what I did the last time. It seemed to work because it started printing again. Sometimes the power cord is in the back here. Sometimes you have to disconnect it completely from the power source. Who knows? You're just going to have to experiment, and these printers are just as stupid as every other printer. So you get all the stupid printer qualities of a normal printer, plus the problems with the food coloring ink. So that's what you get with an edible ink printer. Once you figure it out, you can pretty much work around it. But until you figure it out, it's a pain. The other message that you're going to get is sometimes when you fill the ink, like I refilled the ink in the first video, and I was getting this message that said the printer is online, ink is running low. And I had just filled the magenta, so I knew it was 100% full, but it was telling me the magenta was down. And it's telling me now, once I turned it off and turned it back on, that it's a full cartridge. So sometimes it just doesn't, it doesn't sense that the cartridge has been refilled and it tells you that it's empty. So if you're getting a message that says the ink is low, just open this up and check it with your own eyes, because that's the best way to keep track of the ink. Because sometimes it just gives you the wrong message. And if you get a message that says the printer needs your attention, just go and look at the little screen because it'll have a message, and you can either just, ignore the message or click OK or whatever. Usually if you click OK, it goes away. And usually that's about the ink being low. It's just not anything you need to worry about. Let me see. Sometimes it will stop printing halfway through. And it'll print, and then suddenly it just spits the whole thing out, and it's done and it won't print anymore. And you kind of like, what the heck, I just wasted all that paper. So just put another one in, put another sheet in, and print it again. But sometimes it'll start on its own. So if you're printing 5 of something, and it does that to the first one, it'll print it again, but it'll print 5 more. So it doesn't even count that first one that it just did the half of one on. So that's another reason why the prevent paper abrasion is nice, because it gives you a little break to tell the computer to stop and tell the printer not to print if you don't need it to print. But it usually will start printing another one on its own. Okay, I think that those are most of the error messages. And just think about this. Let me see if I can get farther back here. Yeah, I was going to see if I can put myself in this movie. I'll have to crouch down. I'll have to crouch over here. Just in the time that I was trying to show you this, I got 3 error messages and it wouldn't print at one point. So this is not an error-proof system. You have to figure out how to outwit the computer, sort of. You have to decide whether you have the time to mess with it, whether you have the desire to mess with it. If you're terrible with computers and printers, you might not want to deal with it. If you don't use this all the time, you might not want to deal with it. It's a fun toy, but it's going to drive you up the wall. And I know more people who have bought them and said, I never use it, I hate that thing, I'm going to throw it out the window, than people who say, oh, it's the best thing I've ever bought. So, it just depends. If you use it every single day like I do, yes, you can keep it running and the ink keeps flowing through and you don't have as many problems. But if you don't use it that often, you can really have some problems. And the next video will be about how to clean the printer head and how to get the ink flowing when it stops flowing, because that seems to be the problem that most people have most commonly. So this is just kind of about like little error messages and stupid things the printer does. And you know, it's computers, so it'll drive you nuts. So leave me any questions. If you've gotten a weird message on your computer that I haven't run into and I haven't shown here, post it, because it might refresh my memory of having seen it before and I might know how to figure it out. I also wanted to add, since we're talking about printing, this particular printer has a flatbed scanner that you should be able to put things on there and copy and print from that. I've never had that work for the quality that I would need. So it's always better to print directly from your computer to the printer. There's also a little memory card here where you can put like a card that goes into your camera. And I got all excited for that because I thought, oh, I don't even have to turn my computer on. I could just put the card in there and everything supposedly will come up on this screen and you can pick the picture that you want to print. Well, unless you have like 10 pictures on the card, it takes so long for everything to come up, and then they don't all get shown, and you have to scroll through all your pictures to find the one that you want. It's totally not worth it. So you might have a printer that has a good function like that, but don't count on it. That's all I'm saying. So just plan on having a computer that you use to print from, and you'll be all right. So that's it.